dust allergens are like house and they're burning leaves. That's my worst thing to run by. Me, that smoke in the air, like anybody, like it's hard to breathe. I've noticed that like the next 15, 20 minutes, like it's harder for me to breathe. I'm not working any harder, but I feel like I'm working a lot harder just because the air quality is not as great. And I mean, I don't have diagnosed asthma, but just something in the air like that. Okay, so a lot of times somebody that's having an asthma attack, you might have that. I can't do it. My throat's sore. Like a wheezing noise in their throat, having trouble getting a breath, or they feel like there's somebody sitting on their chest. They can't take a deep breath. It can become life threatening. Guys, when I was in high school, a girl ahead of me, a senior, I was a junior. Unfortunately, she was home alone. She had an asthma attack, did not have her inhaler. I'm not really sure the whole truth behind it, whether it wasn't filled or she couldn't find it. Um, she has sadly let it go for too long. And by the time she called 911, they lived way out in the country. By the time the paramedics arrived, she had been deprived without oxygen for so long that she wasn't able to, survive. She wasn't able to, have enough brain activity to survive that. So it can be life threatening. As a coach for sports that involve you using your lungs, I always say to my athletes, if you have asthma, no shame, right? I have athletes on my team this year that have asthma. Just let me know. And if you want me to hold your inhaler, I'll do that. If at any time during a race that you feel as though you can't get your breath, let me know so that I can keep an eye on you and I can give you that inhaler. One of my first few seasons of coaching ever, I had a young lady who, after the fact, told me she had asthma. So I was kind of annoyed that she didn't tell me beforehand. But we were down in Shikellamy. She was down on they run cross country on like the river dike. She was way down on the far side. One of my runners came back, panic look, like Kirby's having a heart or having an asthma attack. By the time I got down there, she was on the ground, having at this point it's probably hyperventilating. I couldn't breathe. We didn't have an inhaler because I didn't know she had asthma. So I remember like sitting there, like holding her face, even at a moment, and be like, "You need to breathe with me." You start to have a panic attack, you feel like you're dying, rightfully so. So you start having that panic and that anxiety that, oh my gosh, I can't breathe. Your body needs you to breathe. So it's you simply just, I mean, literally, I holding her hand saying, "You need to breathe with me." Like, just getting her to get her breathing under control. Everything worked out. After that, I said, "Give me your inhaler. I will have your inhaler every race from now on." But it's just, and it's sometimes just like the environment. Like she was fine. This was probably mid-season. Every race she was totally fine. But for whatever reason, on that day, there was something in the air that triggered that asthma attack. Oh yeah, you want to have them sit up. A lot of times they're going to want to like hunch over. Try to get them stand up straight if you can, or sit up straight. We need those lungs to be fully open. If you're hunched over like that, your lungs aren't getting. It's like a bag. Okay, you have your bag crunched up. You want to keep that bag nice and open. You can have them use that inhaler. The new thing that I've seen a lot now, even some of the girls that I have running now that have inhalers, there's a thing called a spacer. So they'll actually, when they take their inhaler, they'll actually put the medication into that spacer, which allows them to put that more highly effective as far as getting it to their lungs. Yep, you have to take that inhaler. Within a few minutes, they should start to kind of come back around. If they don't, then they can take another dose of that. But again, what you're doing now is you're buying time, right? At that point, maybe you've called 911, but you're giving them that time that they need from when the air is restricted to when the upper hand or the upper level of help arrives. And it's always important that if you have an inhaler, when it expires, you let your parents know so they can get a new one. The young lady that when I was in high school, I don't know if it was they just never filled it or she couldn't find it. But had she had her inhaler, she would have survived. So just make sure you have that inhaler there. As far as treatments, kind of to summarize this, Aaron already talked a little bit about it. Try to get them to sit upright. Try to get them to stay calm. We don't want them having an anxiety or a panic attack. That's the least thing we want them to do. We want that breathing to start to become more controlled. Don't leave them alone. Like I said, if they have the inhaler, give them that inhaler. If you don't know them, they're a random stranger. then you would obviously have 911 contacted. And at that point, you're just trying to keep them calm until the paramedics arrive. All right, your scenario: student Billy, capital B, at school was around 9 years old, who's struggling with recess, faces daily asthma triggers, requires school-based quick relief inhaler intervention. All right, so the scenario we're going to pretend is we're at recess on the playground at Cochrane, and Billy starts to have trouble breathing. We know Billy is asthmatic. What would you do? So on your paper there, just go ahead and write down what you would do for him. We're going to save Billy, I guess, if we like him.
How far away is that?
Hi.
All right, well done. Little heart attacks next. We got Ben Reiner. Or C. Did I mislabel this? Who had heart attack?
Did anyone have a heart attack?
Okay. Heart attack. Big thing with a heart attack. This is a serious one. Heart attacks are. We like to a lot of times say that risk factors are a sign. So, for instance, if you are overweight, if you have high cholesterol, you have high blood pressure, you're a smoker, high stress, you are definitely much more at risk. Will somebody your age have a heart attack? Likely. No.
Older people.
Okay, older people, very good. Your age, what's the cardiac emergency? We haven't talked about it yet. Cardiac emergency that could happen at your age. Cardiac arrest, very good. Heart attack is typically where there's going to be a blockage of blood flow to the heart. So our heart is a muscle. Muscles need blood to survive.
Yep.
If that muscle is not getting oxygenated blood, that muscle doesn't work. If the ticker's not ticking, we're not living, right? So a lot of times, typically around 40s to 60s are kind of like that big age group. We see it more so in men. Women, yes, you can still have a heart attack. The scary thing for a woman is a lot of times your symptoms aren't as noticeable. Men, you're going to notice something as though somebody's sitting on your chest. It feels like you can't get a breath. It feels like indigestion. You know, if any of you get indigestion, you eat something spicy and you keep like kind of burping up, or just feels like it's kind of like stuck right here. You can't get it to go down. That is the feeling of indigestion. Somebody having a heart attack, a lot of times will feel that and then assume that is what it is. Okay. So they might, your uncle, men being stubborn, might say, "Oh, I'm fine. I'm just going to sit down and take a little rest for a while. I'll be good." No, that is where we see people dying because they ignore the symptoms. So if you're seeing something like that, tightness in the chest, can't get breath, you see pain that's radiating to the shoulder or the jaw, that is a sign of somebody is having a heart attack. If somebody is having a heart attack, you want to quickly don't stress the heart out. So we're not going to have them moving. We're going to get them to sit down, try to keep them calm. We're going to make a call to 911. Any kind of tight clothing, if they would have like a tight shirt on, you're going to loosen it. You would try to get them aspirin. Somebody know why aspirin or something that somebody having a heart attack is very, very good that they take immediately on those early signs.
It kicks in fast.
What does it do for our blood? Aspirin does what to the blood?
Circulates it.
By thinning it, right? So it thins our blood.
Thinner.
Before I had kids and I had all kinds of time in the world, I used to get up really early, come here, work out every morning in the fitness center. And I would come back up to my room around 6:45. One morning I was up in here getting ready. This is way, way long ago because Mr. Kutz was still teaching next door. The security woman was yelling for help. When I went out in the hallway, there was a custodian. I didn't know him, an older gentleman. He wasn't overweight. I don't know if he was a smoker or not, but he was leaning up against the wall, white as a ghost. His lips had very little color, and he was kind of holding his chest like this. And I went out. I said, "Can I help you?" I said, "What are you feeling?" And he said, I'm having trouble breathing." So, me knowing what I know, like all of you would know, you see circulation. The fact that his face was pale tells me he wasn't getting good circulation. Tells me that the heart's probably not doing its job.
Right.
Have the secretary call 911. I grabbed the AED. At that point, I lowered him to the ground just to kind of keep him calm. I'm not putting the AED on him. I'm not starting CPR because he's not having a heart attack yet, right? I only do that when the heart stops. So at that point, I had the principal at the time was Mike Reed. I said, make an all call for aspirin. Any teachers have aspirin. So they brought aspirin down. I had to take 2 aspirin. I had him chew the aspirin. Why would I have him chew the aspirin? It kicks in faster.
Yes.
It has to dissolve and then slowly kick in. No, we put that in their bloodstream immediately. So I had him chew aspirin up. They don't taste good, but hey, you're saving your life. And at that
But it's still, that saves your life, yeah.
Uh, had we let that go, the man very much would have had a heart attack and very well could have died right here in the hallway. So all went well. But again, just because they're not overweight or just because they don't smoke doesn't mean they can't have a heart attack. One of my good friends in high school, his dad was what I would consider pretty fit for a 40-year-old. Had a heart attack when he was in high school. So it can happen, just being aware of it. If somebody's ever complaining about a tightness in chest, you notice their circulation doesn't seem like it should, immediately assume, "Dad, we're calling 911. Dad, I'm not listening to you be stubborn. We're not letting you sleep it off, take a nap. We're taking this serious. We're calling 911 and letting them respond." So your scenario, you and your uncle are cleaning up your grandma's yard over the weekend. Nice weather. You're out there mowing the grass. All of a sudden, Uncle Ted's saying you notice that he's having a hard time catching his breath. You notice him taking a lot of breaks. And you go over like, "Hey Ted, what's Uncle Ted? What's going on?" And he said, "I don't know. I must have ate something weird. I feel like I have indigestion." But you notice that Uncle Ted's not he's looking kind of pale. He's not really looking like himself. He might even make a comment that I had like a weird pain. I must have pulled a muscle in my neck or my jaw. Something's kind of hurting right here. What would you do? So write your response to that scenario. Do everything. Like,
My name's Cameron.
all right, so we got squeeze another one in. Brush it. Let's I tell you what. Let's make sure that we are good. Tomorrow we will start right away to crunch through those next 6. So you won't have any prep time tomorrow. So if you're not ready, you have 6 minutes of prep time right now. Save these sheets. You either keep it or put it in the bin. I'm going to collect these at the end of all of the presentation. This is your activity to do with that. You'll be graded on your presentation. Just as far as you being able to put it together, and then we'll get you a grade on those there. Okay.
Okay.
Make sure on your scenario, make sure you don't answer your scenario. Make the class answer it. That's why we're doing it.
Hey man, that's good for the
He's cute.
She did. She 16 now.
Friend.
16 hour before. Good. 16 and a half. One, two team title. Went there. Went down there trying to see something. It is fun.